mistletoe, which I've got some here. As you can see, the way that the mistletoe grows is slightly different to some of the other plants with berries. The berries tend to grow below the leaves, and if you see these little nodules on the top here, that's where next year's berries will probably develop, when these leaves fall off and new leaves grow on. So I'm going to start off by doing the berries first of all, which are very similar to the holly berries that I did last week. If you haven't seen that video, go and watch that video and you'll see how I did that. And I've also done hellebores and poinsettias, which are all going to go into this arrangement for Christmas. And so I'm going to start off with the berries. As I say, I'm using a 32 gauge wire, which I've already got a couple of pieces here. I've cut it into 6 so that you can get as many berries as you want, because you don't want a long wire for these, because they're going to go right down to the base of the stem. So you just want some white paste, and all I'm doing with this is rolling it into a ball like that. Hope you can see this. It's very sunny outside, so I'll just put my lamp on so you can see what I'm doing. Into your berry, and like we did with the holly berries, you need to leave the green wire showing at the top. Don't take it right into your paste, just take it so that the top of the wire shows like that. I'll put that a bit nearer to the camera so you can see, because that's where the calyx would have dropped off from the little flowers that they have on before the berries come. I've never actually seen the flowers on mistletoe. I have seen them on holly because I've got some in my garden, but if you don't know, that mistletoe is actually a parasite that grows on other trees. Generally apple trees tend to be the most popular ones with that. Just done a couple of berries there. I'm trying to do it all in one video, this, so we don't have to break off into two videos like I've done with some of the others. Now then, the green paste that I'm using, I've used the same paste that I made the holly leaves with, which was the very dark green like that, and what I've done is I've added 3 times that of white into the green to make the leaves for this. I thought I'd just leave some of that just so you can see what I've done. Again, I only use one colour for all my leaves, which is Christmas green from Sugar Flare. If you do Squire's Kitchen colours, then it's the Christmas green, holly green, holly and ivy. The holly and ivy in this range, in the Sugar Flare colours, is too blue. I don't like that one at all, so I don't use that. I just use the Christmas green. You don't need a lot of different greens for the base colour for your leaves. You just need one green, and then do it as dark or as light as you want, depending on what shade of leaf you're aiming for. If you're doing a darker leaf, then obviously you do a darker colour, and then you dust it to the colour that you want. So here are the cutters that I've used. Now I've only used 2 of the cutters. I've only used the smaller 2 out of those. I'm just going to pop those to one side. Bit of white fat on your board. This time there isn't a leaf veiner that I'm aware of for mistletoe, so I just use a piece of corn husk. This has gone a bit discoloured, but it doesn't matter, it still works. So when you buy corn, get it with the husk on, and if you take the pieces of husk off the outside and put them between some kitchen roll in a heavy book, and then just leave it in there until it dries out, that keeps it flat, which is easier to use. And then when it's dried out, then you've got that in your box and you can use it over and over again. I mean, one corn husk is a couple of my classes really when I'm doing it, because it's that much on there. So share it amongst your friends if they don't buy corn on the husk. Depends on whether you cook properly or not. You don't buy frozen corn for this, you buy fresh corn on the cob. Right, so I'm going to make my grooves in my paste. Now this is where it's a bit awkward because it's a curved one. You want to make sure that you get the base of your and the top of your cutter with the line going, if you can, down it. You're going to scrape the side of it. If you don't have the cutters, if you have access to a library or you've got any of Alan Dunn's books, you'll find templates in the back of his, I think it's his Christmas cake one that he's got this in. It might be in more than one book, but if in the Christmas one, I think, pretty sure it's in there. So I'm going to cut out 2 of each. Now what I've done wrong there is I've cut out them all the same side. What I should have done is to cut one way and then one the other way. So I'll turn the cutter over because you've got a left and a right. So I'll just do another one of those. So I've got a left and a right and a left and a right. Forget about that one in the middle. Like I keep saying to people, if you're watching me for the first time, it doesn't make any difference how long you've been doing it. We all make mistakes. So if things don't go right the first time, don't beat yourself up about it. This is what I keep telling all of my students, because everybody's got to learn somewhere. We've all had to learn. We've all been there right at the beginning and gone down that road. So don't be too disheartened if things aren't perfectly right when you're doing it for the first time. Always make sure that you keep your paste covered. I'm using a cash bag here because it's only going to be in there for a short period of time, but I've got some resealable bags to put them in. And I want a 28 gauge wire, green wire for this, white wires for petals, green wires for leaves. And for these 4 leaves that I'm going to do here, I'm just going to use 1 wire and cut that into 4. Again, for those that haven't watched my videos before, these are florist scissors, so don't try cutting your wires with your normal scissors because you'll ruin them. But these are meant for cutting thick stems and that, so they work well with the wires, and I find them better than some of the wire cutters actually, unless you're spending a hell of a lot of money on them. And over the years I've spent a lot of money on them, as we all do. We keep buying new tools and thinking, oh, that's better than the last one, you know, but there we are. So again, make sure that you get your leaf between your finger and your first finger and your thumb, twist your wire in, and they keep it going up your leaf as far up as you can get it. That's come out at the other side, so go back in and come out again. Miss a little bit there showing, but never mind. I've got some that I've already made up. Just try and miss that little bit on the curve there. There we are. I might use these, I might not, because I have done some fresh. With this leaf being such a simple leaf, you can get away with using them fresh instead of letting them all dry sometimes. So right, so veining. All I'm going to do is put the leaf onto the corn husk, get your finger over it and just give it a good press like that, and you'll end up with some fine lines going up it. They're not going to curve round. We haven't got anything that does that, so we're not going to worry about that too much. And I don't think a lot of people are going to look at it that closely, because when they see what you've done, they'll be just fascinated. Unless they're a botanist or somebody that does sugarcraft, they shouldn't be criticising you anyway. And as I keep telling all of my students, if anybody makes any criticism of anything you've done, just say, well, you do it yourself. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give them a bit of a curve. So I'm getting it between under my thumb and just bend the wire up a little bit, so I've got a little bit of a curve on the leaf, like that. They're not straight, aren't the leaves? And then we'll get onto the colouring and varnishing. Now the only thing that I'm going to varnish is the berries. I'm not going to varnish the leaves because they're not shiny, aren't the leaves on mistletoe, they're very dull. So I've got some that I've got dry here that I've just got to dust. I'll just put those to one side. I might do those as well, we'll just see. But I'm going to do the berries first so they can be drying. So just get your full glaze, get your wire with your berry on it, and into your glaze like that. Tap it off to get rid of your lace so you've got a nice shine on them. It also takes the whiteness off of your berries as well, because the berries are not pure white on the mistletoe, they're slightly off white, so the glaze helps to give you that sort of an effect. If you haven't got any glaze, what you could do is to dust your dry berries with some a white lustre dust to give it a shine, and then steam them so that you get the shine on them. So there is a way around it if you haven't got the glaze, but it's always good to keep the glaze in because we use it for so many things. Let's turn that way around. The powder colour that I'm using for the leaves is ginkgo. There's my green brush there somewhere under that. There it is. I've already got some on my kitchen roll, so just be very careful and just brush all over. We're not giving too much colour because they're not that much darker, and then just a bit of a waft over the back. We don't want too much colour on the back. As I've said before, the backs of leaves generally are a lot lighter than the fronts, so we don't put a lot of colour on the back. And because I'm not putting a lot on the front either, you don't need to get carried away with these either. Now if you wanted to vein the back as well, what you could do is either fold your husk over and put your leaf in between it. I'm just going to do these smaller ones here as well, and I've just made just to show that it can be done while they're soft, because if they go out of shape you can still bend them back when you're dusting them. Just put it over your finger if you're going to dust the back part of it. Or you could use 2 pieces of husk. If you've gone and bought some corn on the husk and you've got loads of husk, you could do it that way. It's always a good idea to keep it in your box, and then if you lose any, you've got some more to go at. We'll do that one as well, and then we've done them all. Bent that one a bit back out of shape, so we'll just do that, and then I'll just bend that again. That's better. Some demonstrators, when they're doing this, they do everything while it's still soft, but from a learning point of view you might have difficulty with that, things coming off of wires if you do that. So it's always a good idea to, particularly when you're starting off and you're not as confident, is to do things when they're dry. And depending on which paste you're using, I'm using Squire's Kitchen paste. If you're using Renshaw's or some of the other paste that is not as sticky, then put glue on your wire before you do that together. I think I've dusted that one. Yes, I have. Right, now then, assembling. So what the colour that I'm using for this is this one, which is called olive green. There's a moss green, which is that one, which is darker green, which I tend to use most of the time. Already there's a light green called Nile. For this one, because the stems are a bit sort of more mossy, because they don't have the brown patch, a cross between green and brown, that's why I'm using this one. Just a bit of technical information that you might not want to know, but there we are. I always explain what I'm doing so that people understand why I'm doing it. But if you haven't got it, don't worry about it. You can still use the moss green if that's the only one you've got. use my nifty little machine to cut it in half, so I'm using half tape. If you haven't got one of these machines, the way to do it is to roll it round your hand and keep it straight, and then cut it with a pair of scissors. Stretch your tape to release your glue, and then what you need to do now, I've got some bits of wire here somewhere, there they are. Nope, not them two. Where are they? There's a piece there and a piece there. I'll just cut another wire up because I've got more leaves here. I need a third piece of wire, which I'll explain about in a minute when I've done this, why I'm doing this. There is a very good reason for it. I'm just going to cut that into 4. Normally I cut them into 6 for this, but I'm going to cut it into 4 because I don't need that many pieces. So and I tend to lose them. You end up with bits of wire all over the place and you don't know what size you've used. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the tape off on one side of the wire. I'm going to start it down below the leaves, and then if you get the piece of wire that you've got and then get it so you've just got a little bit of the wire, probably less than 1/4 of an inch, showing at the base of your leaf like that, because we're going to add something else onto there when I put the leaves together. That's why I'm doing this. Then your other one wants to go in facing. If you find it easy to bend it out to put it in, then do that so they don't bend out of shape. But if they're still soft like these are, you can still bend them back into shape if you get them out of shape. Get your tape going down your wire. And that broke off there again. You see, like something else went wrong, didn't it? Just to prove that I'm not lying about things going wrong for people. No, that's the wrong wire. Pull your wires down with your leaves so they're right down to the tape, like that. Just pull that wire down a little bit more. That one. No, that one. Yeah. Tape down to the bottom. Make sure that your veining part is facing so that they're curving in, like that. And if you've ever wanted to do those little, I don't know what people call them, twirly things, the seeds that come off of a sycamore tree, you could use the same technique for those and the same cutters, because they look very much like those twirling down, don't they? Like little, we used to call them helicopters when I was a kid. So again, you can put them all together in one go if you want. You just bend your, or one of your wires out a little bit to put it in, and they fit together like that. You can either pull your wires down, or you can, oops, wrong side. That's make sure you get the right sticky side to facing in so that it attaches to the wires. There we are, got that. And just push that up to the base of your leaves. There we are. Then tape down. Like that. We'll do the small ones. Get a piece of that wire in like that. Oh, sun's gone in. Yep. Makes a change to have a sunny day in October, and depends when you're watching this video as to what the weather's like at that time, but we're mid-October here doing this. And although it's a Christmas thing that I'm doing it early so that anybody that wants to do it for Christmas have got plenty of time to do it. Right, so bend your wires out, your leaves out so that they're coming out at an angle like that. As you can see how the curve is, so they're curving that way, both of the leaves. That's why I've done alternate set ways round. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to not bother with those two for the time being. I'm going to go back to my paste. Now then, in between the two leaves here, I don't know whether I've already told you that. If you look at that closely in between there, there's like a little bobble in there, which is in actual fact on the things it's like two pieces there, which is where your flowers will come next time. So you have to put your leaves together before you can put that on, because chances are if you didn't it would come off the wire. So you want a tiny ball of paste like that. Bit of glue on your wire, that little wire in between there, like that. Oops. And then pop that onto the wire in between your leaves like that. Then get something with a sharp edge. I'm using some straight tweezers here. I'm just going to get it one side and just rock it over the centre like that, just to separate that into two. Let's just come down a little bit and showing the wire. Just pull that up a little bit more and push the leaves together. That's it. So do that again on the others. So again, tiny ball of paste, that's a little bit too small. Sticking on the end of my nail. I mean, you could cut these leaves out freehand as well, I mean, if you're good at gauging things like that. And then get your tweezers on it and just rock it over like that to separate that in between, like that. Bring your leaves together. I didn't put any glue on that, so that will probably come off. Anybody spot the deliberate mistake? Nope. I'm sure somebody will write something in the comments if they've seen it, but if you want any information on anything, please leave a message in the comments and I'll get back to you. If there's anything you want to know about anything where I've got cutters from or whatever, I do try and keep people informed of what makes I'm using. The powder colour was from Edible Art, which I tend to use most of the time. They're most of the colours I've got. Right, how much time have we got? Oh, we're alright. Right, so I'm going to go back to the tape that I had before. Now the way that we put this together, you don't necessarily have to start with the smallest leaves at the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start the tape off down there, like that. Roll that on. And then I'm going to put another set of leaves in, which are actually the smaller ones, further down there. Leaving quite a long wire on it, like that. Bend that out, like that. And then I'm going to put some berries in. And like most things that we do in what you do in flower arranging, sugarcraft or whatever else you're doing, we generally put these in groups of 3. We don't put even numbers in. Bring that up to the berries. And then what I'll do is when I've rolled down a bit is pull the berries down so that the wires are right down to the stem there, like that, and then tape down like that. I'm going to start that off down here. Now if you're doing a longer stem, what you could do is at this point is put a stronger wire in. I've got a bit of 20 gauge wire in there, so I'm just going to add that in now, so that extends that wire a little bit there. And then I can put another set of leaves in there, like that. You need to leave probably at least a good 3 inches. Now the way that they go together, which we don't, is difficult to do in sugarcraft without putting paste on the wires, is there are, if you think about 2 joints of bones going together where you get that gap between them, they have that between the joints, but that's difficult to do in sugarcraft. So there are some things that we have to leave alone. You could do it if you wanted to fiddle about and you've got loads of time to do it, but in the majority of time, if we're doing it for customers and things like that, they won't want to pay for it, and time is money. So if you're going to put little details in like that, then you're going to have to charge a heck of a lot more for whatever you're doing. Right, roll those down, pull the wires down. and tape down. Right, I'm going to come back up probably around about 2.5 to 3 inches below each section to put in another set of leaves. Like that. Bend that out, and then you can put some more berries in there. Now you can carry on and make this as big or as small as you want. I have done some already. I've got 2 lots that I've already made up there. You could put two pieces together if you wanted to do one big spray. It all depends on what you're using it for as to how you put it together, because I mean it does grow in big clumps, does mistletoe. And if you want to see what it looks like, if you want to see pictures of it, just go into Google and put in mistletoe, and loads of pictures come up from various different areas. That's what I did, just to make sure that I was putting everything together correctly. So I'm just going to tape down there, and I might just put another set of leaves in just on the other side there, just to give us a bit of extra strength, but I'm not going to put any more berries in this lot now. Just gives me a little bit of extra wire on the bottom there by putting that in like that. And you can bend that out like that. There we are, you've got a stem of mistletoe. Now the only thing that I haven't done is I haven't done any colour on those little bits that I put in the middle. So I mean if you leave it until it's dry, which is the best time. What have I done with my brush? Put it down somewhere, haven't I? What have I done with it? Never mind. You can do it afterwards anyway. If you just give a little dust with the same green on those little nodules in between, and there you are. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. I've only got one more to do before I do the arrangement, so the next one I'm going to do is Calicarpa berries. All it is just berries, no leaves, but I'm using it on woody stems, which is something a little bit different to what I've done before, because most of the things have been leaves and flowers. So we're getting along with all our bits and pieces here. I haven't got the poinsettias in, but I've got all the flowers that I've made so far here, with your mistletoe and your hellebores and the holly. So the next one will be the last one, and then I'm going to put it all together into an arrangement which you can use either on a cake or as a table arrangement for your Christmas table. So anyway, I look forward to seeing you again soon, and take care, keep safe and look after yourselves. See you in the next video.